Pacific Tsunami Warning Center monitors.
Clarity of purpose.
Our world today sees too many people battling too much suffering. Poverty, natural disasters, disease, human trafficking. Somehow we human beings, with all the technology and knowledge we have acquired, are still not very good at managing the world that's been entrusted to our care. We look at a hurting people on a hurting planet and ask, what can we do to make a difference? The story of Crossroads has been one big surprise to us. We never planned to be an organisation. As we looked at a world in need, we thought there were many good organisations out there already, and the best we could do was to help them do what they did by providing the skills and services the two of us happen to have. My husband is an accountant, my background's in PR. We thought we'd make numbers and words available to people who couldn't readily afford those services. Well, we did that for a few years, planned to do it for the rest of our lives, but then something happened and we couldn't stop Crossroads from starting, and once it had begun, we couldn't stop it from growing.
And what was that thing that happened? Dinner. One night my family was having dinner and the phone rang, and a lady called my family and said to us, sorry to bother you, but we have a problem. We've just had a flood in China. It's the worst flood in 100 years. 2 million people have lost everything. What can your family do? And we thought, what do we do? You know, we're a mother, a father, 2 kids, a dog. We thought, well, what do we do to help people in need? And the lady said to us, she said, all I know is the temperature is going to minus 20 degrees. These people don't get clothing, they will die. Could you please help us find clothing for 2 million people? So we agreed that we would try. We didn't know where to find it. We went and we were visiting a friend of ours and overheard 2 ladies talking. One woman said to the other, hey, I have things I'd like to give to people in need, but I don't know any needy people. Do you know any needy people? And we heard and we said, excuse me, but we know 1 or 2 million needy people. Would it be possible for you to give your items to us? These ladies agreed, and retrospectively, that's how this work began. Not that we had any intentions or plans, but Hong Kong kept giving, and what Hong Kong gave, others needed. And it's extraordinary. This work grew to being positioned in the old airport in Hong Kong, and now we're situated in a 14-acre, 40-building former army base with 180 40-foot containers worth of resources. And it's extraordinary. 50% of this stuff helps need locally in Hong Kong and in this area, and the other 50% globally, around the world, the people in need.
In northern Uganda, they've had horrific fighting for 2 decades. One of those there, David, was himself abducted as a kid, forced to be a child soldier, escaped, but now as an adult, he's actually working with his family to help former child soldiers and others in their community to restart their lives. He was involved with a school that needed a shipment, and with 4,000 children owning no clothing other than the shirt we sent them and the pants we sent them. It was of course something we wanted to respond to. We put together computers and clothing and desks and all that the school needed, such as we had, but he gave us a phone call and said, they need play equipment. Now, people I've met who work in war-torn areas often tell me the most important thing for a child who's been traumatized by war is that he or she gets to learn to play again. Otherwise, their emotional development really can't recover and heal. So we took this seriously, but quite honestly, we don't ever get given massive school play equipment. It just isn't in our warehouse as a rule. Incredibly though, not long after he phoned, a school in Hong Kong phoned, and I love this story. They had, mistakenly as it happens, purchased play equipment worth $20,000 and found out that it didn't quite fit their grounds. It was still in its bubble wrap, and they said, would you be able to do anything with it? So of course, this was a dream come true. We shipped it off to Uganda with everything else. Later we visited, and David said that equipment was used all day, every day. Now those kids had witnessed personally rape, murder, torture, and if I may say, quite honestly, even cannibalism. Their lives had been ripped apart in so many ways, but this gave them a chance to learn to just be children again and to discover what it means not to have a care in that moment as they bounced around on the swings and the ladders and all the rest of it. So that was a lovely example of how what Hong Kong doesn't need can be absolutely life-giving to somebody else, and we're very grateful to that school.
We have received, I think, over 8 containers of various assorted goods to help the schools, the hospital, the women in the community, and men alike.
We went one time to Macedonia and saw in Macedonia a need that just broke our hearts. Macedonia was part of the former Yugoslavia, but once it became independent, it didn't have a lot of money and resources to reconstruct the whole society in the ways they wanted. And so one of the groups we found impacted by this was those that had special needs, maybe cognitively or physically or emotionally. And we went to an institution where many of these were living and found that 80% of those inside had never been outside. They'd never been in the sun. They hadn't experienced grass because staff were so limited in that facility. And as well, there was no money for clothing, personal clothing. So nobody owned his or her own sweater or skirt. Everybody was in prison clothes. There actually weren't chairs or tables either. So they were sitting on the floor, most of them, when we went. And there was nothing to do inside this institution. There were no programs, no fun, no education. And some of them were there for decades. Probably they would die there ultimately. No education, no music, no art, no anything. And it was so grievous to look at this, watching people sitting on the floor, rocking from side to side, simply watching a tiny television in the corner of the room as the only thing they could do all day. And those in Macedonia, they wanted to help this place, so they asked us to send all that we could to give it the facilities to run programs and give these people creative things to do and cognitive things to develop their skills. We shipped off all that we had, but what thrilled me the most was that we had equipment for those that had special needs, and this was specially selected. It was for art, it was for craft, it was for education, and we even shipped a piano, which can be life-giving in an institution like that. And just at the time the shipment arrived, we went and met the shipment, and just at that moment, a whole new team arrived to run parts of this orphanage that was skilled in all of those skill sets. So they could run the art, they could run the craft, they could do the programs. But they said, if your shipment hadn't come, and hadn't come at this time, how could we possibly have done anything?
What's amazing for us, though, is that this work continued to grow internationally. We would send one shipment to a charity, say in Ghana. One charity would receive it, but 5 other charities. They looked at the one who got it and they said, "Where did you get that shipment?" They said, "From Hong Kong." And so we would send one shipment, but we would receive 5 requests. We then sent another shipment, received multiple requests, and we ended up with 800 orders from 100 countries around the world. And at the same time, businesses called us globally. And they said to us, "Look, you took the resources from Hong Kong, but we have a warehouse full of shoes in Korea, clothing in Malaysia, radio equipment in Thailand, furniture in Scotland. Could you come, sometimes even in the next 36 hours, and take our resources?" And we looked at global need and global resources and we thought, surely this is the age of the internet. There must be a way for these needs and resources to connect online. We looked for such a website, we couldn't find it. We went to the United Nations, spoke with them, and they said, "You can't find it because it doesn't exist." But they too said, one is needed. And so the second piece of our work is called Global Hand. Global Hand, it's an online platform that connects need and resource, not just with things, but companies, etc., online. And this online dating tool between the business and NGO sector is the second piece of our work. The United Nations then came back and asked if we could help build a platform to help businesses connect with UN agencies. And so as part of the Global Hand work, we've actually helped build the UN's business platform at business.un.org.
So, for example, in Darfur, in the Sudan, there has been great pain amongst the population during a time of ongoing fighting, and particularly the women. They have been not only involved in the conflict, but they've also been victims of rape and abuse. And one of those whom we met said, "This is not just about the fighting, it's also about the poverty here. Can you get businesses, international businesses, to want to do business with us here in the Sudan?" And we're thinking, I don't know how many businesses would like to get involved in a conflict situation, but the UN, wonderfully, came up with a program to take something in the Sudan which they have plenty of, and that is hibiscus. And hibiscus, if you drink herbal tea, hibiscus is in so very many of those herbal infusions. And so they came up with a program that would give employment to 5,000 female farmers in Darfur and nearby, and put it on the website. And 2 of the world's largest tea suppliers internationally picked it up, and now they have a going concern. Take Haiti. The country was already in need before that terrible tragedy it faced several years ago, but of course now it's so very much worse in the aftermath. One slum area which has been a place of not only great poverty but also great danger is called Cité Soleil, and there we're told everybody's hungry, and one of the ways they meet that hunger is they make mud cakes, literally out of earth, combined with vegetable oil and salt. And this is what the people are living on in some parts of that area. Tragic just to see people eating the dirt from beneath their feet. And so, of course, when a company came on Global Hand and said, "I've got nutritional supplements, I'd like to send them to Haiti," we were just delighted, and people in Cité Soleil picked it up, and we've been able to provide them for orphans and so on who are just in dire need of decent nutrition to have at least a chance at life. We love making matches like that.
Third piece of the work that really surprised us is that as we came onto this site, we began to realize that we wanted to help people, not simply by sending them resources, but actually by helping to create employment, to give jobs as well. And it was wonderful for us to realize that so many of the partners that we're working with, people that we're serving around the world, they themselves were making items, manufacturing goods, but they needed a greater market, more people to buy them. And we thought, this is Hong Kong. a home of tourism. If we could bring resources here, we could actually create jobs for those that we care about, those we are serving, to bring long-term assistance and benefit. And so the third piece of our work that is opened is a fair trade side of our work. And amazingly, we have a shop that has extraordinary resources from all over the world that not only create a message as they are shared, but actually create life for those with whom we're serving.
In a war-torn part of Africa, one family fled for safety. But once they got away from the fighting, what then were they going to do? There was nothing for it except for them to break rocks, one upon another, under the boiling sun, and generate a trickle of income that way. It was back-breaking work, but it was also unsafe, particularly for children, and, well, really not good for any of them. Amazingly, this family came up with the creation of jewelry out of rolled newspaper, which they colored and threaded and turned into necklaces and earrings and bracelets, and we began to sell it. And it was very moving to hear them say to us, if you can sell this jewelry, we can stop breaking rocks. If you can't, we'll have to continue. Wonderfully, today they tell us, not only have they all stopped breaking rocks, but the children are now in school. And that family, even from their meager profits, have managed even to help others in need in their community. We were in Serbia and met some grandmothers who had been through 3 wars and lost family members in every single one of them. They had been refugees, dependent on aid for years, but we sent them sewing machines and they began a little business. And when we met them, one of them just enfolded me in this giant hug and rocked me from foot to foot, over and over. I thought she'd never let me go. But she was saying to me, this is the greatest help. Now we are off aid for the first time. Now we have the gift of work. It puts food on our tables. It lets us pay our children's school bills. It lets us meet our medical costs. And she just embodied the fact that while it's great to give people things who are in need, it's better yet if we can empower them to have a job for the future.
And alongside that, we also have a fair trade coffee shop that helps to provide, again, employment for people that we are serving with delectable beverages that can help others to continue the service here in Hong Kong. You know, one of the things that surprised us were some of the experiential programs that we run. We had our 10th anniversary in Hong Kong, and to be frank with you, we forgot. We thought, when we remembered, what could we do to use this anniversary to show people our heart, to show them why we serve? And then we had a very unusual idea. We thought, you know what? What if we brought leaders from Hong Kong to Crossroads, and when they come, we strip away from them their watch, their wallet, their cell phone, their bat. What if we gave them a pile of rubble and just for 24 hours we could let them sleep on the ground, eat with their hands, just for a day sample a tiny portion of what life is like for those that we are serving every day. And so we did this simulation activity once. We brought 16 of these leaders from Hong Kong out. And I confess we were very scared that it might be too much for them. But before these 24 hours finished, they came back to us and they said to us, this was powerful. They said, I want my office to feel what I'm feeling, but I can't make my office do 24 hours. Do you have a 2 or 3 hour program that can help them to feel? Then principals brought teachers brought students, and suddenly Hong Kong said to us, we need more activities, not just about poverty. What about HIV? What about blindness? What about refugees? What about the environment and the poor? What about, and these programs just snowballed. And it was at this point that the United Nations then called us back and said to us, every year in Switzerland is a very famous meeting called the World Economic Forum. Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, many people called Bill and many others attend these meetings, and they said to us, please, we can't bring all of these world leaders into refugee camps, but we can bring the message to where they're gathered. And they said to us, is there any way that you could bring your simulation, your refugee simulation, to Switzerland? And so we did. We brought our refugee simulation, we built it right beside the World Economic Forum in Davos, and we thought, who will have interest or time to come? And we thought, you know what? Richard Branson. So Richard Branson, he's a very willing man, able and caring. We thought, let's ask him. So we emailed him. Dear Sir Richard, would you be willing to come? And the next day, to my amazement, we received this email saying, David, I'd love to. I'll see you on Friday, Richard. So Richard Branson came. And then senior leaders from Nike came. And then senior leaders from Gucci came. And then the head of the United Nations came. And then more and more. And they said to us, please, could you run this for several years? And extraordinarily, for the last 5 years, we've had the privilege of running several simulations during the World Economic Forum for many of these participants. But the most extraordinary thing for us has been watching these people moved, then take action. And we have seen senior leaders from many of these companies standing in our debriefing room crying, saying, my company cannot just talk, we must act. And what thrills us about these activities is seeing now almost over 100,000 participants go through our doors, go through these programs. And what we love is seeing these corporates, students and others caring about the world better, but then taking that care and turning it into action to serve better those that matter in need around the world.
And what of the future? We can see all of these things coming together in what we are considering as a global village, a place where everyone who visits would leave behind his or her normal life and experience something of the needs of the world through our simulation experiences, and then explore some solutions to those needs through humanitarian aid or fair trade and business solutions or partnerships, and find his or her place in a broken world. So that's the story of Crossroads. If you are watching this and you'd like support for what you're doing to help a world in need, please let us know. And if you're watching this and you want to offer help to a world in need, please let us know. The more of us that can come together, the more we can do to impact a world that is dying